Welcome back to Gun&ShotTV, where we serve cold drinks and hot lead. Today we'll be talking about this Colt Police Positive Special. The Colt Police Positive was in 32 and 38 Smith & Wesson, but it was called Colt Police. They didn't give Smith & Wesson free publicity. So they then took the frame, lengthened it a little bit, and strengthened it a little bit, and chambered it in 38 Special, and then that model became known as the Police Positive Special. Not a huge difference, just a little bit stronger frame. This is an old trooper. This is dated back to 1928 production. I'm assuming it was a police gun or carried for a backup gun or something. It's very worn. It has a finish left, but I wouldn't really call it much of a finish at this point. The original grips are gone. It is wearing some franzite plastic grips from the 50s, and even those are very heavily worn, so this gun has seen some stuff, let's say. An interesting note about the Police Positive is the Police Positive is called that because this gun was revised from the Colt Police model before that to have a positive lock on the firing pin. So if you let the hammer go and you don't have your finger on the trigger, it will not actually strike a primer. So that's the whole deal with the nomenclature. The interesting thing compared to a Smith & Wesson, like this is a Smith & Wesson Model 10. This frame is very small comparatively. I don't know if you can see, but the grip is pretty small. Now, shooting this small frame gun with this small grip really is not that comfortable. It's very accurate, it shoots well, but it's not very pleasant to shoot unless you're shooting very light loads. Comparatively, I can't imagine back in the 20s and 30s when 38 Special was loaded a little bit stouter than it is today, how much fun that would have been to shoot all day at a range. Another interesting thing about the Colts is, compared to a Smith & Wesson, the cylinder rotates the reverse. When I cock the Smith & Wesson, the cylinder goes counterclockwise. When I cock it with the Colt, it goes clockwise. Colt used that as a marketing platform, let's say, and they said that rotating clockwise made the cylinder lock up tighter against the frame and made the guns more accurate. Now, I don't know if I buy that because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but that was their jab at Smith & Wesson. Also, Colts have the cylinder latch pull backwards, whereas Smiths push it forward. Bringing it in a little bit closer, here's the gun from both sides. You've got the clockwise cylinder rotation. Another interesting note is the cylinder latch here is pretty far to the edge of the frame. Also an interesting note is there is black paint in random spots on the frame, like inside the cylinder window here. Under the grips there was a ton of black paint, so I don't know if it was a police department or somebody and they went through and rehabbed the guns by painting them maybe. I have no idea. I've never seen that before. It's the mystery of buying a used gun. You can see it here on the crane. There's more black paint. So, and here are the here's a close-up of the franzite grips. They almost look like a Colt logo, but it's actually an eagle, and it says franzite. And they are some form of bakelite or plastic or something. And these are replacement grips, but they're very worn down and beat up to where there's not even any checkering left in certain spots of them. So they are probably replacements from the 30s or 40s, or an older replacement. And you can kind of see how the rampant Colt is still in effect, even though the gun is all scratched up. And here is the different cylinder latching mechanism on a Colt. You pull backwards. On a Smith, you'd push forwards. Not a huge difference, but to Colt, it was something else to market to. To take out the cylinder on this gun, you'd open the cylinder here, and you'd back this screw out, which will draw a pin out that is captive to the screw, at least in my case, and then the crane pulls out, and you can go in and clean and do whatever you need to do. But if you're willing to deal with a pretty heavy recoil and a pretty stiff trigger that has a interesting stage and pause right about there, neat little gun, definitely a cool piece of history. Just for me, a little bit small to shoot with much authority, although it is accurate.